Hey Jacob, let's take a look at your week 5 assignment 3. This is coming along nicely. This is a good step up from the last version of this that we saw. Color-wise, it looks good. I like the contrasting blues and yellows, so there's a nice complement scheme going on. I also like the added detail of the elements on the shelves, the books, the clock, some pillows and things like that seem to be working out really nicely. And the architecture and the perspective feel great. This feels very workable. It feels very lived in. It feels like everything is kind of angling the way that it needs to, and I think it's probably one of the more stronger points of the drawing, because of how it's not necessarily super complex, but it is definitely beyond kind of what a standard room would be. So I like the way that things overlap, and I like the way that you're keeping all the perspective very clear. So there are some things that I think you need to definitely work on as you move towards the final. For me, the biggest thing more than anything else is going to be you need more value in place, more value change, value distinction. Things like having a distinct difference between kind of certain planes, like the top plane of the bed versus the front plane of the bed. I think these areas could be a little bit darker as we're moving into the shelving unit. So I think like kind of the back wall of the shelving unit could maybe be a little bit darker. You might be able to get kind of this. So this would be kind of the back plane. This would be the side plane. That could be a little bit of a different value, and then the top could be a little bit of a different value. You know what I mean? So like the cubes, you have three very distinct sides to things, and I don't think it would take too much. It would say like use a 60% gray to overlay in here, use a 40% gray here, and then don't even touch the top, and I think you'd be fine. And then that would kind of coincide, I think, with the books as well. You could probably get a little bit darker for here, but the sides that are facing out could actually be a little bit lighter, and that's really going to only occur in the books that you can see the sides of. But I think that kind of stuff, you're going to see it everywhere. I think, here you could get a little darker here, you could get a little darker here, but you could get lighter on the top plane. You could definitely get a lot darker on the side that's not getting hit with light, and then we could really use some cast shadows underneath some of these elements. Get it to be fairly dark, down here, and then you can maybe ease up a little bit as you get further and further away. Should be seeing a little bit of a cast shadow here, and some of these elements could use a little bit of one too. So that to me is kind of the big thing, because right now what I have is color doing a good job of creating some nice value changes, but I don't feel like the dark, the lights, and the mediums are there because of the lighting situation. I think they're only there because of the way that you've colored stuff. So I think that needs to be more prominent overall, and it's going to help clarify the space a lot easier. People will be able to tell where this bed ends and then where it kind of turns downward, if you're able to get that value change in place. Texturally, I think, you could probably use a little more texture, although the wood texture so far is coming along well. I wouldn't overdo it in the shelving unit, because I don't think you need any more detail in here to confuse things. I think what's in place now is good. I think if you can get that additional value change in place, it'll work fine. But I think some of these elements where you have some area to work with, I think you could get a little bit of texture there. You could try for a fabric texture on the bed, although you don't necessarily need to. And I'd like to see something done with up here, just because it's just a huge negative space with basically just kind of page white. So being able to have something there, even if it's kind of a lamp, or maybe it's just some pot lights or something that kind of move towards the viewer, it'll help to break up that space a little bit. The sky and the background look good. Get some colored pencil on that so that we know that there's glass in front of there, some kind of reflective quality to it. But I think pushing the value more than anything else is what's really going to help this out. But it is coming along well. I think you've rendered this interior very nicely. Perspective wise, it's excellent, and I think you have a good amount of work to do for the final, but I think you're in a really good place.